acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and recognise that First Nations people have been here for over 60,000 years, and we mustn't ever forget that. As Vinny said, on Sunday is the start of this year's National Reconciliation Week, which is, it's more than a word. Reconciliation takes action, and I'm so proud and pleased to share with you that Whitelion is on our journey of reconciliation. So we're now in our second year of delivering our first ever Reconciliation Action Plan, and while we are taking baby steps, they are steady steps to ensure that we not only respond to the needs of First Nations young people, but we genuinely recognise the harm, the colonisation impacts that all of that has had on First Nations. What I want to do in the next 10 to 15 minutes is just really spend some time recapping on our new strategic plan and give you a snapshot. We launched our new strategic plan at Strategy 2023, A New Beginning. We commenced that 2020 last year with great optimism around the direction, around where we're heading, and of course, like everyone, we were faced with COVID. So this meant that in lots of ways our strategy hasn't actually been properly promoted. Worth taking a few minutes to share with you our purpose and direction. And often when people talk about strategy, they like to start with why. Why are we here? However, I think for a purpose-led organisation, I like to start with for whom are we here? Who are the people that we're here to serve? That's really the most important question for us. We are here to serve young people at risk between 14 to 24. It's really important to understand that we never refer to a young person as a drug addict, as a homeless person, as someone, as an offender. When we talk about at risk, we are referring to young person's experience of a situation that places them in risk. So their experience of deep disadvantage, of the justice system, addiction or homelessness. Essentially what this does is it changes the conversation. It's saying that we recognise that the experience that young people have had is at no fault of their own, and that the experience that they've had places them at risk, that they are not an at-risk person. So I think if you take a moment to understand that it's really, really core to what we believe and who we are here to serve. Really key role that we have is actually providing a platform for their strengths, for their determination, for their commitment to changing their lives. That's also why we're here. Yes, we absolutely provide a range of services to support young people, but we're also here to ensure that people understand the resilience, the strength, the determination of young people, rather than perhaps the negative ways in which the mainstream media portrays young people. So why do we exist? To build positive connections and pathways to work for young people at risk. If we break this down, the question we ask is, what's the problem that we're trying to solve? So as Whitelion, working with young people at risk between 14 to 24, what's the problem that we're trying to solve as an organisation? The two problems we're trying to solve is social isolation and disengagement and unemployment. It's really that simple. Social isolation of young people and unemployment. So then if you think about our purpose and why we exist, positive connections addresses the problem of social isolation. Pathways to work addresses the problem of unemployment. So that's why we exist. Do this by improving the employability of young people. We passionately believe that employment is more than just a job. It provides positive networks, connection to community, economic participation and greater mental and physical well-being. We believe that a first job can unlock a lifetime of opportunity. We use that term employability really, really deliberately because we know that not every young person that we work with will be ready for work. So getting them, the employability is about ensuring that they build the confidence, the skills to move them closer to work. It would be unfair to assume that every young person we work with, for all of the experiences that I outlined, would be ready to work. So that employability. So how do we improve their chances of moving closer to work? How we do this is actually also about addressing what we call non-vocational barriers. In other words, how do we ensure that we first and foremost find a way to ensure young people are safe and stable? So our youth workers play a really critical role in ensuring that young people have adequate housing, that they have access to health services, to community services. It's really simple. It's really hard to get a job, let alone retain a job, if you haven't got stable housing. If you can't have a shower, if you haven't got access to clothing, the right clothing, how can you possibly get a job or maintain a job? So being able to support young people to be safe and stable, to move them closer to work, is a key part of what we do. So what exactly do we actually offer young people? So we have a range of programs, and while we're here in Victoria, it's important to remind everyone that we also have services in South Australia, New South Wales and WA. So we provide intensive support, that really critical one-on-one support. Our youth workers are absolutely amazing. They always start from where the young person is at. They focus on the strength of that young person, where they're at, and how can we support and walk alongside them to access housing, to access a whole range of support services. Mentoring, which Vinny has mentioned, and is himself an amazing mentor to a young person. That positive role modelling cannot be underestimated. The life of a young person who hasn't had the opportunities or the positive role modelling, and people who genuinely care. I know that throughout all of my time and spending time with young people, every young person who has had a mentor always say to me, it's just amazing that they actually care about me, and they turn up and they hang out with me, that they think I'm all right. So that power of someone believing in us is so critical to our ability to change. We also provide practical education and training support, ensuring that young people have basic numeracy literacy where they need that, ensuring that they're not disengaged from school. So whatever it takes to be able to provide them with that access to training and education. And of course, employment programs, all the way from preparing for interviews, writing resumes, finding work, and importantly, helping the young person to maintain that job. So ultimately, all of our programs aim to improve the present and future employability of young people at risk, which we believe is a very powerful tool of breaking the cycle of disadvantage. In terms of delivering on the strategy, we have adopted 4 strategic priorities. So everything we do across the organisation comes back to these 4 priorities: people, programs, supporters, and sustainability. So people, which I'll come to in a moment, is all about our workforce, our staff and our volunteers. Programs is about the delivery of what we offer, and as Catherine mentioned, it's not just about what we offer, it's about how effective is it, how innovative is it, can we measure its effectiveness, is it actually having positive outcomes? Our supporters are also one of our 4 strategic priorities, and that's why today is so important. We haven't ever brought such a diverse group of supporters together before, and we really believe that in bringing the group together, you will also learn, of course, sustainability. We talk about without profit there's no purpose, without margin there's no mission. So we're unapologetic about always ensuring that we have a sustainable organisation. Thinking about the future viability of the organisation is a really core part of our life. So it's one of those strategic priorities, which is our people. I really believe that an organisation's intellectual property is its people. At Whiteline, we're very passionate about creating a safe and inclusive culture with high-performing staff. We want to ensure that this culture is not replicable anywhere, and that it's our intellectual property. In March this year, we appointed our first ever Director of People and Culture. We want Whiteline to be the best workplace our staff have ever worked in. Right? The best workplace that our staff have ever worked in. We want people to leave Whiteline more confident, more capable, more skilled than when they came in. That's what we want in terms of our workforce. So the focus on people is a really important one for us. We've done a lot of work over the last 2 years to ensure that we focus on people and that we do create a safe and inclusive culture where staff belong. We believe that when staff are enabled to be their best, it means that of course that translates to amazing services for young people. What we want for every single one of our staff, when you get asked, what is your job? My job is to change the lives of young people at risk. So our efforts in working as a whole of organisation is really core to who we are. and we'll keep working on that, because we do believe that when 100 people are all geared to supporting a young person, we're going to get a greater outcome than relying just on the youth worker, who is the direct person working with the young person. So throughout that time, we've weathered the COVID storm and we've continued to rebuild our financial base, with 80% turnaround over the last 2 years. We've strengthened our ability to measure and evidence our impact. We've implemented new systems across the organisation to improve efficiencies and data insights. We've deepened our engagement with supporters, such as today, so we want to deepen our engagement rather than spread ourselves so thinly with all of our supporters. We've been able to also influence government policy through submissions to inquiries. None of this would have been possible without our people. To all our staff here today and to everyone who's not here also, my focus today is really to say thank you to all of our staff. It's their passion, commitment and talent that makes our organisation what it is. Everything that we've achieved. I'm always asked by people, what can we do to help? What else can we do? And if you're interested and you'd like to help, we are recruiting mentors. We've got a range of programs across our mentoring program where you can mentor a young person who's currently in care or they're leaving care, or one of our new programs in Melbourne is what we call breakthrough mentoring, and that's very specific to employment. So it's, as a mentor, you would use your networks to help to build the young person's confidence and their linkages to be able to move them closer to be able to get a job. So if you're interested, Di and Tanya, so if you just stand up, please come and speak to them. And there's also flyers, I think, on our table for you. So just before I do wrap up, Vinny, I didn't get a chance to actually say early on, but I wanted to acknowledge Mark Watt, one of our co-founders, who's also here. So Mark, a warm welcome to you. And Glenn Manton, who's our other co-founder, had to pull out really just in the last hour. But I want to recognise that while we are absolutely clear about the future of Whiteline and where we're heading, we will always continue to carry on and continue to hold what has been amazing about our history. And it's great to have Mark and Glenn still involved with us, and I'm sure they'll continue to be involved with us in the future.